I'll have to talk to my doctor about it. I, even as much as I try to like let go of the way I think things should go and like be compassionate, I still have these like expectations that just get me in so much trouble. Or not so much trouble, it just causes me more suffering that I get to look at and work with. Okay, so
yes. I have people know that feeling as well.
Yes, I know you do. I know you do.
I want to be better. I want to get better.
Right. And I think as long as we have that, in the head, it like just causes so much more suffering. Okay, so last week of our 4-week classes, I'm going to keep doing these Fridays, but I'm not going to put it into this little like 4-week bundle of compassion. I wanted to focus on self-compassion because I think that's the most important. I think like most of us, especially people who like practice yoga and show up, like we can be compassionate to other people. And it's important to practice compassion to other people, even selfishly, because it makes us feel good when we actively can be compassionate to other people. But what I've been noticing, especially in this like time of pandemic, I am so hard on myself and I'm watching other people just be so hard on themselves. And I wish I could just like shake us all and like help us show the same kind of compassion we show to other people in our lives who are suffering. Because even if we don't realize like that we have like some kind of active thing that we're working on, like I have my foot, but all of us have these like areas of pain no matter what, just from like living, that we can be upset with ourselves for, not show us that like that gentleness. Take an upright seated posture. Your eyes close. Oh, I did share in the chat, if you like listening to music, a Spotify playlist I made for today's class, if that feels like something that you would like and you have another device to listen to it on. Beginning to tune in with yourself and with yourself as you are in this moment, beginning to release the expectations you have when you think about like showing up to your yoga practice, or the way that you want your practice to look, or the way you want to feel when you do your practice, allowing all these expectations to soften so that anything that arises today during our practice is this like delight. And even if it's like not something we enjoy, it can be like, oh, that's what's coming up, like a surprise of engaging our curiosity. Yoga on the mat is very much the microcosm for what happens in our life. So we get this opportunity to practice how we want to be showing up in our life. So today the invitation is to become more curious about yourself and allow yourself to unfold as you want to unfold, like with your inner intelligence and not with like your thinking mind based on your beliefs. And to focus on your exhale even more. In every exhale, it's just like washing away your expectations, softening your hard outer edges. And with our exhale, we're going to begin to kind of with the mouth. So you'll exhale through your kind of teeth, pulling the belly button all the way into the spine, exhaling as much as you can comfortably. And then without inhaling, just allow your breath to naturally come in. And then as it comes in, begin to lengthen your inhale. Only lengthening it as much as is comfortable, but focusing on the exhale. Exhaling out through the mouth, feeling the navel draw into the spine, retaining the out breath for a moment. And then with this trust, watch how the body will naturally breathe. So you don't need to like take a big gasp in. It's just this natural this natural in-breath. Continuing to do this and see if you can touch some of this like wonder, like, wow, this body that I'm in is so intelligent that I don't need to make it breathe. And I can trust that it will keep breathing for me. How many different processes are there in the body that happens without any of your effort? Like your heart, your kidneys, your liver, like each of these organs has so many vital roles it plays in the body. And it does that without us even thinking about it. And yet we get so hung up on these little specific things that we wish were different and are upset that they're not the way we want them to be, without being able to notice like the beauty of this whole system. And then release that. Exhale through the mouth, just breathe normally and watch the breath. Allow your attention on the breath to slowly dissolve and start to pay attention to the space that's above your shoulders. So not just like your physical head and the way it looks, but how does the energy in the space around your above your shoulders feel? This place where it often feels like we're operating from. Can you see past your closed eyelids to something bigger? Something past this physical form that we put labels on. And then take one of your hands up, maybe, and then use like your middle finger and start to tap the center of your forehead. Just noticing how it feels. Start to travel around the forehead a little bit, still only tapping with that one finger. And play with tapping really softly or with more force. Going really slow or going fast. And allow that finger to travel around your face, your eyebrows, under your eye. Just allow you to figure out and move and wander as you'd like. You can start to add a few other fingers, maybe still doing one finger at a time. And take it down the throat and tap under your collarbones, the center of your sternum. On the top of your head. I like to use both of my hands to tap the top of the head. And we'll do like this full sweep from the top of the head down the body and out through the legs. It's like wash. I'm coming into stillness again and noticing if anything's changed. I want to do one more thing similar to this. Take out one of your arms and then gently stroke it. Like you would stroke like a little child's back. We tend to do this move quick. See if you can do it slow and with a lot of love and care. Do the other arm. And how often do we reach out our hands to stroke someone we love with like sending our compassion through our fingertips? We tend to not do that for ourselves very often, if ever. And see if you can let go of the thinking mind and how you feel about doing this and just listen to how the skin is receiving it. And then take your fingertips to your heart more and do the same thing at the front of the chest. Just this like stroking the heart open. Maybe the way you would like touch a cute little fluffy bunny. And so when you're ready, laying your hands, land back on your thighs or your lap and just noticing the difference. Even something as short as that is a daily practice just to tune into you and show yourself some compassion. Allow your eyes to really softly open like little half moons, beginning to take in what's in your room, what it looks like, the colors and the light. So, if you can allow your attention to evenly spread out as your eyes open more and more and more. Okay, really nice. Let's take your hands behind your back on the floor behind you. We're going to do windshield wipers with the legs, so allowing the knees to rock over to one side and the other. Maybe breathing in a way so that you can hear your breath. And the next time the knees come over to the right, keep them over there. And we're going to sit upright. So we're going to do a little bit more self-massage today. And we're going to we're going to work on our right leg. We have our tibia right here, this big bone of the shin. And just closer to you than the bone, there's 3 energetic lines called meridians that carry a lot of our life force energy from our feet up. It swishes around our belly and comes up to the top of our head. And oftentimes these lines can be blocked. So we're going to take our thumbs and lean in and press. Sometimes I'll do this and I'll walk one thumb at a time up. But the pressure doesn't tend to be as great. I find I get more response if I lean in towards my leg, and sometimes I'll even put my thumbs on top of each other for the pressure, and then I'll lean back and move my thumb up just like one thumb space. Lean in and then back off. This is kind of like, I think you guys have all worked with myofascial release, like using a ball or a foam roller. It's that same idea. So when your thumb comes to a place that feels like interesting, hang out there, continue to apply pressure, maybe move around a little bit. Taking it nice and slow. So once you make it from your like medial malleolus, that bony bump in the middle of your foot, up to your knee, you'll come down again, just one thumb closer to your body than your shin. Doing that second meridian line. We'll end up taking 3 lines up the body, but go slow. And if you finish before I cue us to move on, go back and do one of the lines again. When you run into a spot that feels more sensational, see if you can use your breath to help get something moving. Gina, how does this feel on your tight calves? Are you feeling it? Nice. So many little sore spots in here. And then once you get to the top, and if this feels sensational, like this is a great thing to do more frequently, just when you're sitting down or you're watching a show or talking to someone. Those 3 meridian lines also run from the inner knee. So there's 3 up here, and then 3 that goes from the inner knee up into the groin. So instead of hitting each one, you could do the same thing. Just for time's sake, we're going to take our thumb, grasp the outer thigh, and then pull our thumb up, thinking about releasing these blockages in the inner thigh. So the thumb will grasp and pull, and I'll use my left hand to anchor my calf down as I kind of work my way up. This can be nice too if you have like some water by you. You can put a little water on your thumb so it slides a little bit more. If you're skin to skin, sometimes it gets a little sticky. Okay, really nice. And then after I do massage, I always like to do light strokes on my leg as like a goodbye touch. Then we're going to do this modified pigeon that we do often. So twisting towards the right, laying down over the right knee. If it feels appropriate to you, you could extend your left leg back and shift your hips from the right to the left so they're even to come into full pigeon. But practice is an act of self-compassion to really asking, like your whole self, should I do that, or do I just always take the harder option? Using your awareness to kind of shine a light on what's coming up. Seeing if you can just notice it instead of gripping into the story and spinning off somewhere else. Like, oh, I'm thinking about making bread, or I'm thinking about how my knee still hurts, or instead of allowing the story to spin and get bigger. Walking your hands back up. If you extended your leg into pigeon, come join us again into this like double 90-degree angle pose. I'm going to spin sideways so you can see this. So I'm just going to lay down backwards onto my right elbow. And we'll do a little bit of shoulder work by allowing the shoulder to collapse, letting your weight kind of hang and the shoulder comes up towards the ear, and then pushing the shoulder down out towards the elbow. And as you do that, kind of melting some of the spider webs and fuzz that can get sticky in the shoulder joint and strengthening the rotator cuff muscle. And then continue to push down. Take your left hand to your hip and do little spinal flexes. So rounding the spine, chin to chest, and then little back bend. Shoulders back, heart forward, throat slightly back. We need to bring these gentle movements into the spine. Let your eyes soften or close, and then let the movement kind of grow from inside. So letting go of what it should look like, and see if you can just move in ways where you feel a stretch. This can be a nice place to get some hip flexion action on the left side. So the front of the left hip, you can get a hip flexor stretch, which was requested. You can play with turning the left shoulder more towards the floor, so a deeper twist and a bow, or turning the chest more up to the sky. And then eventually, when you feel ready, work your left arm up and over, can hang, so you just get one more side stretch. And if this becomes too much work on the forearm, you can extend your hand down and have a longer angle. Really nice. Come on back up. We're going to take the left knee to stack on top of the right knee. And then we're going to pull the knees up and do a glute massage. We're using the right hand or forearm to rock around on the glutes. You can rock back towards the top of the pelvis, that like ilium, or rock forward more towards the sitting bone. I think trying to be mindful and aware is such a nice practice when we're working with compassion because it's never going to be perfect. Okay, come back through center. Let's do some windshield wipers again. Our mindfulness will never be perfect. We'll never be like, I'm just going to be aware of my breath and I won't have any thoughts. I feel like when I started meditating like 17 years ago, that was like the big belief that like meditation was not thinking. But instead, meditation is the process of remembering that you're trying to be mindful and not getting sucked down the holes. Let both of your knees come over to the left. So we're going to be working with the left shin again, the 3 meridian points that run up just medial, or so just closer to my body than my shin. Using the weight of your body, rocking forward and back to slowly, one thumb at a time, make your way up, stopping at places that feel good. So normally, I think the tendency that we all have is if we make the intention to be mindful, and then 30 minutes later, we realize we've run off with stories and now like haven't been mindful the whole time. The reaction is normally like frustration or like inner upset that we can't do better. So that's the place where we get to come in and be like, so much compassion and gentleness and just practice moving right on. Feeling the flow of the breath, maybe focusing still on that exhale and watching the inhale and letting it seem magical, this like body of ours that can breathe itself. How much of the magic is under our skin that we just have no idea of? Before we move up to the thigh, if you haven't finished, continue. But if you have, see if you can find one of the more points of curiosity, have more sensation than the other. See if you can just hang out there longer and breathe. Normally when we push into a part of our body like this that has some like response to it, our response is to contract throughout the whole body. So can you be applying this pressure to yourself and getting like a pretty acute response to where you're pressing, but then really focus on softening the other parts of your body. Really nice. And then move up to your thigh, maybe helping pin down the shin with your right hand as you do that grasp and pull. There's also one meridian line that goes up the outer shin. So you could turn and do this like on your own time, just trying to spark more curiosity for your own exploration. But from this outer malleolus, just posterior to the shin, there's one. And then there's one that comes all the way up the hip. So, okay, let's lean over the left leg. Maybe extending the right leg into full pigeon. Think about pushing the hips away from each other, so you're widening the thighs, getting more of a stretch in those back of the hip muscles. Watching the breath kind of like snowflakes. No two breaths are the same, so being curious, how does the breath move? Where do you feel it the most? You can feel it at the tip of your nose or the back of your throat or deep down into your belly. I'm going to make your way back up. I'm going to pivot again so you can see me. Now leaning down onto the left arm. My spine is straight out from my hips. And we'll do that plug and unplug. Have your elbows slightly forward of your shoulder so your shoulder doesn't collapse out to the left. Plug, unplug. And then once you can keep the shoulder integrated and keep pushing down through the left elbow, I like to think of pushing down and forward. So I'm getting a push up here. Begin to take your spine into some cat-cows, arching through your back and rounding. Especially if you've done a lot of yoga practice where it's been really drilled in that like certain moves should look a certain way, which I do love. I think it's that thinking is everywhere. And can you allow it to just be what it is and just let it feel good? If you have some tightness in your hips, can you move in a way that you get a little bit more stretch there in that area? So especially in this side, you can get more access to the front of the right hip flexor. And eventually we'll meet stretching the right arm up over the head. And then walk yourself back up. Stack the right knee on top of the left knee. Left hand comes a little bit behind the back. Pull the knees into your chest and begin to rock around on the left glute. Remember, you can always change your pressure. So normally when I do this, I always move off of my mat onto the hard floor. Or if you have like a ball nearby or a foam roller, you can use to really be responding to what your body is asking for. Really nice. And then bringing the feet up one more time. We'll do those windshield wipers. Awesome. We're going to make our way into child's pose, so however you want to get there. Let your forehead be on something. So if your forehead doesn't naturally rest on the floor, you could grab a block and put your forehead on the block. Or you can just come up a little bit, lifting your butt a little bit more away from your heels so that you have more weight on your forehead. But I want this pose to feel comfortable to you. And then roll around a little bit on your forehead. So you're giving your forehead a little bit of a massage. Continuing to, without your thinking mind, just this softening and allowing some of these deep tensions that we hold, especially about ourself, this inner critic, this I'll accept myself when, letting that just begin to melt off of you. Beginning to come more into stillness. If you'd like, you could take some exhales through the mouth. So inhaling through your nose and stretching your arms forward. If you pulled them in, inhale, coming up over your hands into table pose. And exhale, rounding back into child. A few more times. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, sinking back. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, this time tuck your toes, lift your hips up, downward facing dog. Pause in your down dog. And listen. Listen with your cells, all of your little feelers. You have these cells in your body called proprioceptors, and their job is to notice where your body is in space. So you really do have these like antennas all over you. So listen to what your system is asking for, and then begin to move. Maybe moving little bits to stretch out those areas that might be asking for it or integrate. And if it feels like we're holding down dog for too long, you can come back into child's pose. A great calf stretch is to let's do the right foot first. If you'd like, let the right heel drop down towards the floor. Left foot comes behind the right heel. So you can use your foot to push the right heel down to the floor. It doesn't need to touch, while at the same time bending your right knee and lifting the right hip up. And taking that on the second side if you'd like. And then walking your feet forward to your hands. You could walk your hands back to your feet, come into a forward fold. Bend your knees forward a little bit so you can allow your spine to release. You could bend your knees so much so that your belly rests on your thighs. And keeping your feet and knees mostly facing forward, walk both of your hands over to the right. And then walk both of your hands over to the left. It doesn't need to look exactly like mine. We're just getting a little bit more movement in places that we sometimes skip. And come back through center. Begin to walk your hands up your thighs until your hands come all the way to your top of your thighs for a flat back, but keep your head a little bit above your butt. And try to push your thighs back, push your butt back while you stretch your chest forward. Chin slightly tucked. Imagine you're lengthening out through the crown of your head. You can stay here for a few more rounds of breath, or you can stretch your arms forward, using your arms to help stretch your spine forward and using your hips to push your butt back. So it's kind of like you're spreading the taffy of your spine. And then come all the way up to standing. Take your hands to the top of your head. Push down through your feet and push the top of your head up into your hands. Shoulders soften down. As you inhale, imagine that you can breathe compassion from the earth up through your feet and suck the compassion all the way up to the top of your head. And as you exhale, breathing out from the top of your head down into your feet and releasing back into the earth, forgiveness, softening all the times we've been rough to ourselves in the past, treated ourselves with in ways that weren't helpful. Letting that go. Inhaling compassion. Exhale, softening, forgiveness. And letting your hands come down by the sides, taking a wider stance in your feet. Imagine you had an apple on the top of your head and push down into your feet and imagine you're trying to balance that apple on the top of your head. This will often help us take the head out of this forward position. And keeping the neck long, begin to do neck rotation. So letting the skull rotate around the neck, keeping the back of the neck long, so not allowing the head to just drop all the way back. Helping release these imprints and beliefs and self-judgment, held tension. Take your circle in the other direction. And when you're ready, bring your head back through center. Keep your right hand down by your right side. Stretch your left arm out, around, and up. Over to the right. If you'd like, you can walk your feet a little bit closer together. And come back through center. Right arm comes out, around, and up. Just going back and forth. If you come over to one side and it's like, well, that feels really good, you could take your other hand to the wrist and help pull it out and just stay there a little bit longer. When you're ready, coming back to center, hands on top of the heart. We've been working on this for 4 weeks, so I want to see if you can do it a little bit quicker than normal, but bring to mind someone you know who has been in pain. I always think of one of my kids suffering. Feel the compassion you have for that person. Imagine you could send white light of compassion to that person and then switch that person so that it's you. Sending deep compassion and care for yourself, no matter how you're showing up. As you inhale, begin to open the eyes, stretch your arms up to the sky. And as you exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hands to your thighs, stretch your spine forward halfway up. Exhale, bow down, belly draws in, head drops. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, extend the spine long. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bow. Inhale, lengthen. Look forward. I'm going to give you an option. So we're going to do this a few more times, either the same way, coming up halfway with the help of the hands, or if it feels good, if it feels like an intelligent thing that your body is enjoying, you can do it without the hands. So I'll inhale, and I imagine that my kidneys are parachutes, and they expand up and help lift me up as my arms float out. Then as I exhale, like a waterfall, back down. But if it feels like that's weird on your back or your legs, just stick with your hands on your thighs. And then on your next exhale, work your way back to downward facing dog. Inhale, bend your knees to the earth. Exhale, child's pose or upright hero's pose for meditation, whatever feels more restorative and relaxing to you. One of the things I do that I find really helpful when things come up that I don't particularly like, I say, you belong, this belongs, this belongs, namaha, I bow to you. So it's this shift in perspective from pushing away the thing we don't like, which makes it just rebound back to us, and allowing, which can have it soften away. Inhale, come back up into table pose. Exhale, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, stretch your right leg up to the sky. Exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. If it doesn't make it, grab your right foot and help pull it forward. And then we're going to pivot both of our feet to the left, coming into wide leg forward folds. The pinky edges are parallel to the front and back edges of the yoga mat. Notice where the weight is and see if you can shift the weight a little bit more towards the toes. The tendency is often to the heel, so play with coming a little bit towards the toes. Hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. I'll go like this so you can see better. And then work both of your hands over by your left foot and bend into your left knee. The right leg stays straight. And then walk your hands over to the in front of the right toes, left leg straightens. Just move around however feels good. Maybe it's not even good. It's not chasing the good as much. It's like listening and trying to respond. Okay, coming back into stillness. Spine long, work your hands up to your thighs. So we're halfway up, kind of like we've done before with our feet together. And then come all the way up. If your head gets lightheaded, this is my like go-to. Hands on top of the head, pushing the head into the hands. Then we're going to turn our right toes forward towards the front short edge of our yoga mat. And then bend your front knee over your ankle. Let's do this a few times. So straightening the leg and bending. Straightening and bending. Last one, straightening and bending. This time allow your eyes to open. If it feels like your body wants to get in and work a little bit more, come to a longer stance. If your body is asking for like a more mellow practice, use a shorter stance. On your next inhale, straighten the front leg. And as you exhale, step back, downward facing dog. If down dog isn't feeling good, just switch legs and come into a wide leg forward fold in the other direction. Or inhale, left leg up to the sky. Exhale, work your left foot forward between your hands. Pivot both of your feet to the right, wide leg forward fold. We'll hang out here for a few rounds of breath. Feel free to move in whatever way it calls to you or hold in more stillness. And as you inhale, work your way halfway up. Walk your hands up to your thighs and pause for a moment, little bend in your knees. Allowing the blood pressure to even. So even these like sweet little things where you're caring for yourself and you're not rushing. Then come all the way up. Pivot the left foot forward. Straighten the leg and then bend the knee over the ankle. And straighten. Next time the knee comes over the ankle, hold it. Adjust your stance. Left knee's pointing towards the toes, right hip pulls back, so getting an opening through the front of the hips, arms wide. As you inhale, straighten through the front leg. Exhale, hands come down to the ground. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to plank. Top of the push-up, knees can lower down to the floor. Exhale, come all the way down to your belly. Squeeze your legs together, push your toenails into the floor. We're gonna do no hands cobra. Inhale, lift your chest up. Then hover high you came up, put your hands down. Don't try to come up any higher, but try to pull yourself like that taffy. Push your hands down and try to drag your hands towards the back of your yoga mat as you try to slingshot your heart forward. And as you exhale, come back down, stack one hand on top of the other in front of your face. Rest your forehead on your top hand. You can stay here still, or you can bend your knees, taking your feet hip distance apart, and then draw circles with both legs. And draw them at different, well, this can look however you'd like. What I'm doing is, I think they call it egg beater. So I'm drawing my circles at different times. And the rock that goes up into the hips and can help release some of these chronically tight hip muscles. You could also just do windshield wipers on your belly, letting the feet go from one side to the other. Really nice. Roll over onto your left side. You can either lay on your arm like a pillow or prop yourself up with your head under your hand. I'm going to do a quad stretch here. So top leg, right leg, bend your knee, reach back with the right hand. Help pull your heel in towards your bum. Activate your right toes. Tone your low belly in away from your pants. And think about pushing out through the knee. Especially the pulling the low navel in while you push out, that can get a little bit more hip flexory. You can kind of make little refinements here and see if you can change the sensation. You can also play with how lifted or low the right knee is. All right, and then we'll roll over and do the other side. Coming over onto your right arm, knees bent, reaching back with the left leg. I always like to have my bottom knee bent here so my shin acts as a kickstand, but I know Christina likes to do it with her legs straight. That gives her more. I fall over when my bottom leg is straight. Belly in, maybe even squeeze your glute, push through the knee. So release that, come back through table or through your belly, and we're gonna push back into child's pose. As you inhale, come up table. Exhale, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. We're gonna do one more standing pose sequence. Inhale, right leg up to the sky. You can open your hip if that feels nice. And then step your right foot forward between your hands. Pivot both of your feet to the left again, wide leg forward fold. Taking what movement feels appropriate for you. Before we bend one knee at a time, keeping all 8 corners of the feet on the floor, 4 corners on each foot. If it feels good on your hips, you could go to this lower one for Skandasana, where you lift up your heel. I don't think this one's for everyone's body. And then we'll inhale and begin to lift all the way up, pausing for our moment, and then coming up. This time we're going to move into Trikonasana. If you know that Trikonasana, the ground is far away, you could grab a block, or I'll use my cushion often because my cushion's normally closer to me than my block. In Trikonasana, I like having a wider stance. So bringing your feet a little bit wider away from each other so the floor is closer. Before we go down, just see if you can get that flow again of like inhaling compassion from the earth, exhale forgiveness from your head to your feet. Okay, and we'll hinge forward over our right hip. Stretch the arm forward and bring the hand or the block down to the floor. Inside can be a little bit more accessible with the front foot or outside. Engage your muscles from your feet. Pull the muscular engagement up to your hips. Squeeze your shoulders back. You can either keep your hand on your hip or stretch up or over or hand behind the head. So you exhale, unwind, make your way back to downward facing dog. And then we'll take the second side, inhale left leg up, maybe hip opens. Step your left foot forward between your hands, pivot both of your feet to the right, wide leg forward fold. Again, allowing yourself to explore this position. One of the things I like to do in this pose, it's like I consider it a down dog and a half forward fold. I walk my hands forward, fingertips strong. So from my hands back to my butt's kind of like down dog. And I put a little bend in my knees and I lean my butt back. Okay, inhale, beginning to walk your hands back and up to your thighs. Come all the way up when you're ready. Pivot your left foot towards the front of the yoga mat. This is one of the hardest poses for me now. From your feet, pull energy up to your hips so you're engaged. Hinge forward over the left hip, and then work your hand down to the floor or the block. And allow the pose to open as you feel ready. Really nice. As you exhale, work the hands back down to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog.
I have to get today.
Bring your knees to your choice. Either move through a vinyasa or press back into child's pose or seated meditation. Sophie, you're here. Really nice. And then let's come back into downward facing dog one more time. We'll get one more calf stretch in. So we're going to take our right foot about halfway forward. So not all the way forward, just halfway. And this can help access that calf. So then try to stretch the right heel to the floor. And also get to your left calf. So put a little bend in the left knee. Try to stretch your left heel to the floor. Push through your hands and try to drag your butt back and up. Nice, and then switch. Right foot comes back, left foot comes halfway forward. Heels, does not matter if the heels touch the floor, but we get the calf stretch by trying to bend the knees forward while stretching the heels down. Awesome. And make your way down to your bum. Open your legs out wide. You could put a cushion under your bum if it helps you to not round your low back. And push down through your heels, push down through your sitting bones and sit up nice and tall. Then take your hands to your shoulders. Elbows are lifted and do a little twist. As you inhale, twist to the left, exhale right. Keeping the spine nice and long, keeping the energy moving. And it said that this exercise here helps take the energy from the bottom 3 chakras and lifts it up into the heart. Again, to make the move a little bit smaller, and then come into stillness, hands down to your thighs. From here, we're going to do side stretches. So leaning over to one side, arm lifts if it feels good, or you could keep your hand on your hip. Going back and forth. You can go fast or slow. If you find a place that feels good, you can stay there and hang out. Nice, and coming back through center. Use your hands under your knees and help pull your knees together. Come to lay down on your back. If you have a strap or a towel or a shirt or anything to make your foot closer to you, you could grab that. You can also grab onto your shin or something. But first, just start by laying down. Right, and then pull your left, let's do the left knee first. Pull your left knee into your chest. Both of your hands are on the front of the left knee. A lot of really great work can happen here with the hip flexor on the bottom leg. So if you have a chronically tight hip flexor, which most of us do, the bottom leg that's straight will pop up. So emphasize keeping that down, even if it means that you can't pull the top leg in as close. Then take your right hand onto the top of the hip to keep your awareness there. Open the left knee out to the left. Push the left knee into your hand. Push out through the sole of the right foot. Soften your shoulders and your face. And bring the knee through center. Right hand will hold onto the left knee. Left hand will come onto the ground. Only pull the left knee over as much as you can without allowing the left hip to lift. So it won't be very much. So both hips are still on the floor. And then you can play with how close into the chest you pull the left knee or how far away you move it. So this is one of my favorite out of hip, top of the IT band stretches. And then from here, we're going to pull it all the way over into our supine twist. Both shoulders on the floor. Right pinky toe edge of the foot pivots to the ground. You can stay here or you can bend your bottom leg, your right leg, reach down with your left hand and take a quad stretch with your bottom leg. Inhale, unwind, laying on your back. And pull your right knee in, left hip grounded. With your right hand on your right knee, left hand comes to your hip, open the right knee out to the right. And think about pushing out through the limbs while softening. And we'll move into our half twist. So left hand pulls the right knee across the body, but keeping the right hip mostly on the floor. My bum will lift just a little bit, but I'm not twisting over yet. Play with where the right knee is, lifting it up more or down more. Just try to target where your hip is wanting to be stretched. And then pull it all the way over, rolling onto the outer edge of the left leg. Right shoulder stays grounded. And then bend your bottom leg if you'd like for this quad stretch version. Then inhale, unwind. We'll do that one more time with, you can either do it with the knee bent again or with the legs straight, holding with your hand or with some kind of strap. We're pulling the left leg into the chest. I keep pushing the hips down so the right hip is unengaged. The hip flexors. Right hand comes to the top of the hip, open your left leg up to the left. Notice if the right hip is reaching away from the floor, try to keep it down. Notice if your judgment comes up about your flexibility or how you're doing, and work at like relaxing the expectations and showing yourself more gentleness and care. Bring the leg back through center. We're going to do that twist and a half here, or that half of a twist. So the left hand will come to your strap or your leg. Right hand will be on the floor to help you stay anchored. Pull the left leg over a little bit. This is where, with the leg straight, you can start to feel that stretch from the outer hip all the way up through the knee and toes. And then twist it all the way over on the pinky toe side of the right foot. Left leg crosses the body. Come back through center. Release the right leg down or left leg. Sorry if I got my sides way wrong on that. And then last one, right leg comes up through the center. And opening it up to the side so the left hand will hold the leg or the strap, right hand will hold the foot or the strap, left hand on your hip. So you open the right leg up to the right. Bring the right leg through center, left hand reaches up to take the hold. Twisting halfway. Right hip still stays anchored back. Then take it all the way into the twist. Right leg pulls all the way across the body on the outside edge of the left leg. And coming back through center, laying down on your back. Stretch your arms up over your head towards the wall behind you. Just pendiculate, so stretching like a cat in the sun. Stretching like you spoke up, where the intelligence of your body just moves you. No right or wrong. And roll over to one side. Allowing some of the heaviness we carry to ground. So when you eventually come up to sitting, you feel a little bit lighter. When you're ready, no rush, we'll come up to sitting for a seated meditation, propping yourself up in a way that you'll be comfortable. So every time we've met for these 4 weeks, we've done a different form of meditation for compassion. This one, we're going to do a meditation for self-compassion that I learned from Tara Brock. It's her RAIN protocol, RAIN. So you'll start in an upright seated meditation, or really you can do this anytime. I'll do this sometimes when I'm on a walk, trying to process through some of my emotions. As you sit here, scan through your life. And notice any situation or emotions that are coming up that feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe there's a situation with the relationship you're in, maybe like a romantic partner or a family member or a roommate or school. Maybe there's some kind of addictive habit pattern that you're struggling with. Maybe there's a challenge with your health, with the environment you live in. Just finding something that kind of stirs up something that you don't particularly like. And so the first step is recognize. So recognize what's showing up. What feelings are there? We're trying to do this with non-judgment, so just noticing like there's anger, whatever it may be. The next one is A, which is allow. So allow it to be there. I did this a little bit in class, like this, you belong. These feelings that you're feeling, they belong, they don't need to leave. So it's telling your emotions that you can be here. I won't resist. I accept that you're here in this moment. And the next one is I, investigate. Where are you feeling these feelings? Instead of just being so quick to label it, what does it feel like in your body? You can even investigate, is there a belief system you have that is leading you to feel this feeling? Just being curious. And the last letter is N, which is nurture. Giving yourself a little love. It's like a little pep talk, like it's okay. I'm not perfect. And the situation is what it is. And it's just fine. It's okay. And it's this process of not pushing away what we don't want. And allowing things to be as they are. And letting that go, let's come back to our meditation of on someone we love. So thinking again of someone you love so, so deeply. And imagine that person suffering. We're not trying to get sucked into the sadness of them suffer. Instead, we're trying to feel our compassion and our love well up. Feeling our compassion for this person, no matter how it is they're showing up. Because no matter what, we love them, this unconditional love. And then once you feel that, shifting that love onto yourself. This love without condition. Love because you exist. And if it's too hard to feel your own love for yourself, you could imagine a wise person like the Buddha or Jesus or a really like loving grandma or something, and feel that unconditional love coming from them to you. It's the love of the universe. Or of a young child. Imagine their love's like sunshine and it's warming you up and helping soften your hard places. And bring your hands together in front of your heart. They can be palm to palm or hand on top of hand on your chest. Allow your chin to drop, bowing into your heart. And thank yourself for being here. Thank yourself for being exactly where you are in your life. And forgiving yourself for all the things that you think you could have done better. Namaste.